Good morning, Eric. This is Frank Cordero. I'm actually going to be helping out with some of the critiques for the last part of this month and into the next month, being that Ken is going to help his wife with the arrival of their newborn baby. So, anyway, congrats to him. Ken asked me to step in to give you guys some feedback on the work that you've been doing, and hopefully I will be able to give you guys some help on things that are be useful. Um, I come from model creation. I teach here at the school, and also have a background in character, and so I'm familiar with the challenges that you guys are going through, and also some of the things that maybe you want to think about moving forward. So first and foremost, it's nice to see the progression of what you're working on, going from a rough stage to somewhat of a finish bust. Anyway, I wanted to kind of make some comments. There is a point where you can go too far or overwork a sculpture. I do believe that your critique of yourself over here, where from the side, definitely you kind of lost something. Definitely, sometimes that happens when you start getting into the detail phase and you start making adjustments. You think you're zooming in and you lose sight of the big picture. And I think that that's where it's really, really helpful. And I think what I like about what you're doing is that you're starting to troubleshoot on your own. I think I like your comment. I think I need to work more for my reference and to block out low res stages. And I agree perfectly with that comment, because that's going to get you back on track with regards to proportions for all your shape dynamics that are going on the head. So that's the first thing. The things that I see that are obvious that you can tell right now that are different, you can look at it yourself. Subtle things, but things that are still there that can be improved. Ear size, definitely it's a little too compressed and can be pulled out a little bit. Also, the position of the ear could probably fall just a little bit lower than the height of the brow. Right now, yours is actually intersecting at the top, and although technically you can probably get by with that, in this case his, since there's a little bit of slight variation with people's heads, definitely maybe just slight positioning down on that, or maybe there's just a shift. The other thing I think is more of the larger issue is this structure here, the connection of this jaw, which is very steep compared to here, which is not as steep as what's going on here. So that kind of sets up the whole dynamic of the position of the ear as well as in relation to the eye. So you got to look for, when you're looking at reference, it's really important to kind of look at multiple points of reference and targets on the screen at the same time, compare and contrast. You're always looking at multiple places while you're working, never just looking at one thing in isolation, especially when you're starting to nail down proportions. So that becomes really important to you. Look at size relationships, how long this nose is compared to that. Those things become important. Where is this nose? Usually the nose comes about maybe halfway from where the ear is. Right now your nose is definitely coming out the bottom of the ear. So again, another confirmation that this position of the ear or the size or both need to be affected. You lost a little volume on the bottom of the chin. So I think you're seeing that, and I think that's good. I think it's just backing off a little bit on the detail of the sculpting and working more in the round, in the rougher stage, getting those proportions nailed. And I definitely would step back a few division levels to kind of use the move brush and redistribute some of those volumes. You may have to wind up doing ultimately a little bit resculpting, but I think in the long run you'll be happier with a sculpt. So again, and just so you know, anatomy, when it comes to that, I look at a lot of different people, but for structure, for volume, I'm a big fan of the way Bridgman thinks about faces. A lot of people think this is old hat or passe. This is old school thinking on anatomy and drawing, but I still think it's still relevant and part of the conversation. Big things like, the structure of the face and how we think about it. It's not that you have to sculpt this way, but I do think it becomes important to your thinking in terms of, how you look at the head. And I think it's this kind of way of working that's going to help you lock down where your features are at. When you think of it as a cube, and you start kind of cutting into that cube and getting your key proportions figured out. Again, and this is more of an idealized head. You have something that's more specific, and that's ultimately what we have to do. We have to take that concept of ideal proportions and then find a way to translate it to the specifics of the actual person that we're dealing with, and then make those adjustments. So anyway, that's all I got to say about your work. I say, hopefully, this will get you to the next level, which is getting into PFP. I know this is considered the test, or at least the sculpting test, or some version of directed study. I think you have potential to develop this further. I just think that right now you've got some key proportion issues with regards to where your features are lining up, and I think you're just backing off and working in a lower res version where you would get that figured out would be the best thing to kind of correct for this. Anyway, good luck with your stuff. Yes. Yes. Yes.